15 doctors, the most expensive medical team money could buy. Machines humming, monitors flashing, nurses running from one side to another. A billionaire was dying right in front of them, and nobody could stop it. They tried everything: electric shocks, injections, defibrillators, emergency drugs worth more than some people make in a lifetime. But nothing worked. The heart monitor kept screaming one thing: flatline. Everyone in that room had years of education, titles on their coats, confidence in their voices. And then, from the corner, came a voice nobody expected. The janitor's son, a quiet black teenager who had been standing there watching, spoke up. His hands trembled, but his eyes didn't. He said, "You're missing something?" The doctors ignored him at first, until he stepped forward and pointed to a single blinking number on the monitor. Silence, then confusion, then shock. What he said next changed everything. Not just for the billionaire fighting for his life, but for every doctor in that room who realized that brilliance doesn't wear a white coat. That night, money failed. Status failed, but truth spoke. Through the one person nobody believed could have it. 15 doctors stood frozen under the cold white hospital lights. Machines screamed, wires tangled, and a billionaire lay motionless on the table. His name was Elliot Kane, a man who built empires out of steel, who funded medical breakthroughs, and believed that with enough money, anything could be saved. But in that room, surrounded by the best experts in the world, his fortune meant nothing. The heart monitor flatlined. Again. A nurse's hand trembled as another doctor barked orders. "Epinephrine now!" Nothing. The air reeked of desperation and sterile failure. Outside the chaos, in the dim hallway, stood Marcus Carter, the janitor. His mop leaned against the wall, forgotten. He'd seen life begin and end in these same corridors for 15 years. But tonight something felt different. Beside him was his 16-year-old son, Malik, who often waited quietly while his father worked late nights. Malik wasn't like most kids. He fixed broken radios for fun, took online engineering classes in secret, and dreamed of inventing something that mattered. As he peeked through the narrow glass window into the emergency room, his mind didn't see panic. It saw patterns. He noticed the rhythm of the monitor, not just the sound, but the intervals, the distortion. It wasn't random. It was interference, a signal problem, not a heartbeat issue. The doctors were shocking a body that wasn't even connected to the right pulse. "Dad," he whispered, eyes narrowing. "It's not his heart. It's the signal." Marcus frowned, torn between disbelief and instinct. "What are you talking about, son?" Malik pointed at the monitor. "The frequency's off. The waveform's duplicating. They're treating the wrong failure." Back in the room, a chief surgeon shouted for another dose. The last attempt. Marcus hesitated, then stepped forward, his voice shaking as he called out, "Please! My boy sees something wrong with your monitor." 15 heads turned. Silence filled the room. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then Malik walked in, a janitor's son, standing among the richest and most educated people in the city. What he said next would flip everything they thought they knew about life, death, and genius. Because that night, the one person nobody noticed was about to save the man who thought he could never need saving. Inside the ICU, the room pulsed with chaos. Machines beeped out of sync, sterile lights burned overhead, and the air felt thick, like time itself was holding its breath. The chief doctor barked, "Increase the dose!" Another shouted, "Get the next syringe now!" Nurses rushed in circles, faces tight with fear. The billionaire, Elliot Kane, lay lifeless under the harsh lights, surrounded by 15 of the most respected doctors in the state, all of them brilliant, all of them helpless. No one noticed the door creak open. In the hallway stood Marcus Carter, the janitor, clutching his mop like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. Beside him was his son, Malik, his wide eyes fixed on the monitors. The glow of the screens reflected off his face, not with confusion but with recognition. He leaned closer, whispering urgently, "Dad, that's not his heartbeat. It's feedback." Marcus frowned, panic in his voice. "Malik, stay out of this. These people don't listen to us." You'll get us thrown out. But Malik couldn't stay silent. He pushed the door open just a little wider, his small frame stepping into a world that wasn't meant for him. "Sir!" he called out, his voice trembling but firm. "That's not his heartbeat, it's feedback." Every head turned toward the doorway. The nurse nearest to him snapped, "Who let him in here?" The chief doctor glared, frustration flashing across his face. "Get him out!" Malik didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the heart monitor, tracing the rhythm that didn't match the pattern of a dying heart. It matched distortion. "The signal from the MRI room," he said, his tone steady now. "It's jamming the pacemaker. The data's looping. That's why you're not getting a response." The doctor stared at him in disbelief. One of them muttered, "That's impossible." Another turned to check the diagnostics panel. And then suddenly, an alarm blared from the MRI unit next door. The chief surgeon froze. His eyes darted between the readouts. Malik's theory made sense, horrifyingly so. "Cut the interference line," he ordered. A nurse rushed to disconnect the source. Seconds passed like hours. Then, a sound. Beep, beep, beep. The flatline broke. The heart monitor came alive again. The billionaire's chest rose, shallow but real. His heart was beating on its own. The room fell silent. The chaos melted into disbelief. One of the doctors whispered, "How did he see that?" Another asked under her breath, "Who is that kid?" Marcus stood frozen, his hand trembling on the mop handle. He looked at his son, this quiet boy who'd just corrected 15 doctors without even stepping into their world. Malik's breathing quickened as the weight of it hit him. He had saved a life, a billionaire's life, and yet all he felt was shock. The silence in that room wasn't just awe. It was realization. That genius can come from anywhere. And that night, everyone learned it. Hours later, the chaos had quieted. The bright, sterile lights of the ICU softened into a calm hum. Machines that once screamed with panic now pulsed steadily, each beep a reminder that life had returned. When the billionaire, Elliot Kane, slowly opened his eyes, confusion flickered across his face. The room was empty except for two figures standing near the doorway. Marcus Carter, the janitor who had mopped these floors for 20 years, and his 12-year-old son, Malik, the boy who had seen what no one else could. Elliot's lips parted, his voice barely a whisper. Who are you?" Marcus hesitated, unsure if he was even allowed to answer. But Malik spoke first, softly. "Just the janitor's kid." The doctors rushed back in, flooding the space with movement. Reporters were already gathering outside, but the hospital executives moved fast. By morning, the official statement was out. It was a minor technical glitch, quickly resolved by our medical team. They buried the truth under polished words and corporate spin, but the staff knew. Nurses whispered in break rooms. Security guards replayed the footage quietly during night shifts. The story of the janitor's son who saved a billionaire spread through the halls like wildfire. When Elliot Kane was well enough to leave, he called for them, Marcus and Malik. In a private office overlooking the city skyline, the man whose life had been hanging by a thread now sat humbled before a boy half his height. Elliot looked at Malik and said, "You didn't just save my life. You saved my faith in people." Malik froze, unsure what to say. His hands fidgeted with the hem of his shirt. Then Elliot asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The boy thought for a long moment before whispering, "An engineer. Maybe a doctor. I want to fix things." A small smile crossed the billionaire's face. "Then you will." 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the Carters' small apartment. It bore the golden seal of Kane Industries, a full scholarship. Tuition, books, housing, all covered. For the first time in his life, Marcus watched his son hold something that no one could take away. A future. The truth? Malik's brilliance wasn't luck. It was born from quiet nights and hidden dreams. While most kids his age were playing games or scrolling through their phones, Malik sat in the dim light of his father's small apartment, watching old videos of surgeons, engineers, and inventors. He didn't have expensive gadgets or tutors, just a second-hand laptop with a cracked screen and free hospital Wi-Fi. He studied medical devices, heart monitors, and signal patterns. He watched how electric impulses kept a heartbeat alive, and every time he saw something he didn't understand, he didn't stop. He dug deeper. His notebooks were filled with sketches of circuits, half-erased calculations, and messy notes written beside cleaning supply lists. He never told anyone. Not his teachers, not his friends, not even his father. Because who would believe that a janitor's son could understand what trained doctors sometimes didn't? So when that monitor started failing in the ICU, Malik didn't guess. He knew. His brain had already mapped out the signals, the noise, the pattern, the fault line between life and death. The world ignored him because he wore hand-me-down shoes and lived below the hospital he cleaned. But genius doesn't ask for titles. It doesn't wait for permission. It speaks quietly in moments when no one's listening, and sometimes it screams through the hands of a boy who refuses to watch someone die. That night, Malik didn't just fix a machine. He exposed a truth the world loves to forget. Brilliance isn't born in boardrooms. It grows in silence, in the unseen, in the underestimated, in the ones who were never meant to shine, and this time, the world had no choice but to see him. Before this story fades in your feed, remember this. Some of the smartest people you'll ever meet are invisible right now. Cleaning your schools, serving your food, fixing your lights. Next time you see someone who the world calls ordinary, ask yourself, what if they're the next Malik? If this story moved you, don't just react. Share it with one person who needs to hear that being overlooked doesn't mean being unworthy. Because the next breakthrough, the next life saved, the next world changed, might come from the most unexpected place.